Joining us now is Nino Tronchetti Provera, who is founder of Ambienta. Thank you very much for joining us, Nino. Great to see you. And we've been talking for many years.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
Oh, we've spoken for many years about green investments, but suddenly it's caught on more widely now. What are you seeing in this space as a lot of new entrants crowd in and trying to maximize this ESG investment mandate? Are you concerned that there are bubbles starting to emerge?
But I think that generally speaking, there are two facts out there. One is that there is 100 trillion of economy, which we have to transition to a more sustainable one, because this planet is simply not able to supply all the resources and to digest all the pollution that the traditional business models would require. And that is a gigantic business opportunity, because transitioning 100 trillion of economy from less sustainable to more sustainable, it's the biggest revolution the worldwide economy has never experienced. The second thing is that because you start to have proof that this transition, which is not only energy, by the way, it's a lot of stuff, it's every single piece of the economy, is creating so many opportunities and nice returns. There are a lot of private money which is willing to be engaged and deployed in this transition, which I think those two things are two facts, and those are two positive facts. I guess the two question marks is, are we going to be fast enough in the transition to avoid a disaster? And the second is how much of this private capital is really deployed into green investing, and how much is deployed in things that are not really environmental. I guess it's new, it's starting. If you remember the digital boom and boom in 99, 2000, 2001, that didn't mean that the digitalization has not changed the economy. I think greenwashing is just the result of the big gap that you have between supply and demand. It is our fault. I mean, a lot of the specialists, Ambienta being one of the biggest, we haven't been able to scale enough for this explosion of the demand, which is why a lot of people took the opportunity of raising a lot of money with products that until the night before were just normal products.
Nino,
it's something that will be cured in the midterm, I guess, I hope.
Nino, I remember a very old conversation we had many years ago about the cleanup of pollution in Europe, and you were just explaining to me about the emissions and the standards that changed in autos being so significant. Now, as you look at the situation, you've heard all of the conversations at COP26 so far. What do you think is the number one thing required to accelerate this transition that global leaders and CEOs are trying to achieve?
But listen, it's a very complex issue. I've been one of the founders of the Kyoto Clubs in Europe, which was the association of the different environmental entrepreneurs in '98. We believed in it. I have never been to a COP anymore because, unfortunately, if you look at those 25 years, they haven't achieved so many results. Now, I think that if we look in the last 30 years, we have extraordinary examples of effectiveness by governments, and particularly two that I found very, very, very clear in Europe. Europe has been very strong in introducing command and control regulation, tackling industries like automotive, the steel manufacturing, chemicals, and bringing them to a level of pollution which is just not comparable to the one they had before. Which is something that politicians are not able to do anymore, but they should. I don't think we should speak about issues like, I don't know, mono-use plastic in certain packaging application or stuff like that anymore. We just should ban them. The second thing is taxation, which is something Europe did without intending to do so. We taxed energy and resources incredibly. If today you go to the gas station, you pay 10 times the price of the normal fuel. And that taxation is the reason why Europeans created an economy which is 50% more efficient than the US, for instance, in consuming energy. The average European consumes half the energy of the average American, with a life standard which is comparable. Because the economy understands pricing, and if you want to affect the behavior of the people, pricing is the number one thing you have to do, unless you go for the command and control. So all these very complex talks, all these very complex, by the way, half of what has been discussed in Glasgow is against environment, because it's very much affected by lobbying, which I think, so on one hand, we should rely much more on science. Ambienta is driven by a group of engineers that are trying to see, for whichever environmental issues you may imagine, what is the real solution. And if you speak to a first-year engineering specialist, he will tell you that a lot of the stuff politicians are discussing today are against the planet, are not in favor of the planet.
Nino,
on the other hand,
Nino,
please.
Can I just jump in? Nino, can I just jump in for a moment? Because I think our audience would be probably very interested as to how you're crystallizing this view in particular long-short equity positions. I'll let Steve address maybe COP26 and what you've said about the greenwashing there. But I know that you run the X-Alpha fund, which was designed specifically to take advantage of companies that you think are overhyping their green credentials through shorting their stocks. What companies then have you put in the portfolio on the short side of this fund?
But listen, if you think that there is the biggest earthquake in the economy and you have 100 trillion of economy transitioning from a more less sustainable to a more sustainable, the simple idea I had, remember, I'm not a finance guy, a lot of our partners and my colleagues are, but I'm not. The simple idea was they're going to be companies favored, which you want to go longer, and they want to go, and they're going to be company jeopardized. Now, I will avoid to make names of companies because that would be impolite, but the results of that fund are there to be seen because those numbers are official, the Sharpe ratio, and as a matter of fact, after a year and a half, not only we run the largest long-short based on sustainability, but it's also the best performer. And something we also do is that because there is a lot of, I talk about the lack of education of the market versus sustainability. The market is full of slogans. We like, as you said, also to short green bubbles sometimes, which can be seen on the market if you have the right lenses and you understand. I mean, you cannot have there are companies which just because they have hydrogen next to their name are valued at valuations that are just not realistic because I don't think they're going to be a long-term business. Just to make one example.
Nino, I've got one question I can give you now. Greenwash, I couldn't agree with you more. Too many companies have come on this channel for too many years and given us a load of hogwash or greenwash, call it what you like. But I've got a hopeful feeling now that actually one thing that's coming out of both COP26 and out of the private sector are measurable standards, benchmarks as well. When I talk to Henry Fernandez from the MSCI, I see them putting measurable standards in. I see a lot of other people doing the same as well. Are the days of greenwash over because the benchmarking, because the availability of science-based initiatives and standards, they're getting more and more prevalent, that companies have got nowhere to hide?
Okay, listen, I believe that the path is the right one. Taxonomy, measuring. I believe that it's going to be a long path. It's going to be a long path because, number one, we are not giving the leadership to scientists. For scientists, understanding sustainability is very simple. We should keep it very simple. How to measure water, climate change, how to measure pollution. These things have been there for 2,000 years. It's not complicated. It's very simple. If you look at the way Ambienta, for instance, measures sustainability, and by the way, it's not only us, it's our ecosystem of investors, of scientists, of associations that have been doing this for 50 years, it's very simple. Among our small group of experts, it's very simple. Now, taxonomy, unfortunately, today is mostly delegated to compliance experts because, and that's, of course, an issue. And then there is a lot of lobbying pushing for it. I think the path is right. When today I look at the market and I see without making any names, but you can verify on Bloomberg very easily, that the largest product, which is called ESG, if you look at what they have in the portfolio, you have Walt Disney, you have Coca-Cola, you have Pepsi-Cola, you have Microsoft, you have Facebook, and those are fantastic companies, but I don't think you can consider them environmental champions. They are great companies, but they are not related to environmental trends. And I don't think that an investor that goes to the bank and asks for an ESG product is expecting to own Walt Disney or Coca-Cola. I think they're expecting to own other kind of stuff. But I think the path is the right one. I think we just need to, I welcome the interest of every single investor on planet Earth, insurance, banks, family office, endowments, simple individuals, to contribute and deploy into accelerating that transition, because if we don't do the transition, there's not going to be a future. I think that we'll have to adjust. Please.
Nino, we're going to have to wrap it with you there, but thank you so much for your commentary this morning. Nino Tronchetti Provera, the founder of Ambienta.